My wife had been planning her girls' night out for weeks. She kept saying it was just her and her friends, no men allowed, no distractions. She even laughed and said, "Don't worry, it's just us ladies, no guys are invited." I wanted to trust her, so I didn't question it. Still, something about how she emphasized those words made me uneasy. She seemed almost defensive, as if she was making sure I wouldn't check up on her. The evening started off normal. She got dressed up more than usual, doing her makeup with extra care and wearing a dress she hadn't worn in years. When I commented that she looked stunning, she gave me a half-smile and said, "Thanks, but it's just a girls' night." That uneasy feeling inside me only grew stronger. After she left, the silence in the house felt heavier than usual. I tried to distract myself with TV and some work, but I couldn't shake the thought that something was off. Finally, out of restless suspicion, I checked her location on the app we had both installed years ago for emergencies. To my surprise, she wasn't anywhere near the restaurant she said they'd be at. Instead, her pin hovered over a fancy rooftop lounge downtown. I debated with myself for a long time before deciding to drive there. Part of me didn't want to know, but another part of me couldn't ignore what I was seeing. When I arrived, I parked discreetly and walked into the building. The sight that greeted me on the rooftop shattered the trust one had been holding on to. My wife wasn't with a group of women. She was sitting with two men and another woman, laughing, drinking, and looking far too comfortable with one of them. I stood there in shock for a moment, hidden behind a column, just watching her. The way she leaned into the guy, her hand brushing his arm as she whispered something into his ear, told me everything I needed to know. It wasn't just a friendly night out. She had lied, plain and simple. My chest felt heavy, but instead of confronting her then and there, I quietly walked away. On the drive home, my anger cooled into something sharper, calm, deliberate revenge. She thought she was being clever, but I knew I could play the long game. That night, I stayed awake, planning. By the time she stumbled back into the house past midnight, her smile forced and her excuses rehearsed, I already knew exactly how I would deal with her betrayal. She slipped into bed beside me, smelling faintly of perfume and alcohol, whispering that she had fun with her friends. I pretended to believe her, smiling back and saying I was glad she enjoyed herself. She had no idea I had seen everything. Keeping silent was hard, but it gave me the upper hand. Over the next few days, I started gathering information, quietly. I pulled bank statements, checked receipts, and even confirmed with one of her friends, who accidentally admitted they hadn't seen her that night at all. Piece by piece, I built the picture of her lie. She had been sneaking around more than once, using these so-called no guys allowed nights as cover. Instead of confronting her directly, I decided to hit her where it hurt most, her reputation and comfort. We had a shared group of friends and family who thought highly of her. So, one weekend, when we had everyone over for dinner, I casually brought up the topic of trust in marriage. She smiled proudly, saying she and I had nothing to hide from each other. That's when I pulled out my phone and showed her location history from that night, right there in front of everyone. The room went silent. My wife's face drained of color, her fork clattering onto the plate. She tried to laugh it off, saying I was being paranoid, but then I showed a picture I had taken at the rooftop lounge. The silence grew heavier, the judgmental eyes of family and friends piercing through her. She had no excuse left. After the guests left, she broke down, begging me to forgive her, swearing it was just a mistake, that it didn't mean anything. But to me, the meaning was clear. She had lied, betrayed, and disrespected me. Forgiveness wasn't something I could hand out like a free pass. In the weeks that followed, I quietly met with a lawyer. I prepared my case with evidence of her lies and secret outings. By the time she realized I wasn't softening, the divorce papers were already in her hands. She tried to fight it, but the evidence was overwhelming. My revenge wasn't loud or violent. It was calm, calculated, and final. I let her think she was in control, let her laugh behind my back, and then I stripped away the foundation she thought was secure. She lost her husband, her reputation, and the stability she had taken for granted. Looking back, I don't regret how I handled it. She chose deceit, and I chose truth. And in the end, truth is the sharpest form of revenge. She went out for her no guys allowed night thinking she was clever, but when she came back, she walked straight into the trap of her own lies. That night taught me something important. Sometimes silence and patience are the strongest weapons. My revenge wasn't about anger. It was about making sure she understood that betrayal has consequences, and I would never again be the fool she thought I was.